If you're watching this, you almost certainly have heard the name Odin. Maybe you've seen him in American Gods, or maybe you saw the version in the first Thor movie, or maybe you know that Odin is also called Woden, and that's where we get the name Wednesday. But did you know that Odin was not an only child? He's actually one of three brothers, and we usually think of the other two as being called Vili and Ve. And this has always bothered me a little bit because Vili, Ve, Woden. Why don't they match? In Germanic languages, the V and the W make very, very similar noises. Actually, the car company, which in English you'd probably call BMW, in German is called BMW. Of course, being a big fan of linguistic history, I looked into it, and at one point, in fact, all three of these names did start with the same sound. Now, we have to go back quite a while in order to find them being the same sound. We have to start with the modern Scandinavian languages and follow them back in time to when they were Norse. Then we have to take that one step further to a language called Proto-Norse. Now, Proto-Norse is so old that we've had to reconstruct what the names of these gods probably were at that point. But as far as we can tell, they would have been something like Vodanas, Viljo, and Vias. Now, the first thing you might notice is that those sound way cooler than the modern versions, but they're not just meaningless words. Now, to explain, we'll take a couple steps back in Norse mythology to the father of all gods, called Bori, and he had a son called Bor. Both of those just mean the one who was born. But Vodanas, Viljo, and Vihas were the first generation that was actually differentiated. So what do those mean? Odin famously gave up one of his eyes for the wisdom of the runes, and that's pretty close to what the name Vodanas means. Vodas means rage or inspiration, which is sometimes translated as wisdom, and the Nas ending means master. So Vodanas is the master of wisdom. You might be able to guess what Viljo means because of its modern descendant Will, although the meaning would have been a little different at that point. It meant something closer to the will to act or courage. But I'm guessing no one would be able to guess what Vihas means because we don't really have any word like it in modern English. It means something like spirit or divinity or divine power. It took all three of these gods to overthrow Ymir and end the reign of giants in Norse mythology. And then after that, they formed the world as we know it. So you have Vodanas for wisdom, Vilho for courage, and Vihas for spiritual power. Now, some of you might be thinking, this is sounding really familiar. You have three gods, one of wisdom, one of courage, and one of power, who make the world. That's right. It's the same as the three golden goddesses from Legend of Zelda, and I think this confirms once and for all that Legend of Zelda takes place in Norse mythology. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed learning a little bit more about the history of Odin and his name, and that he's actually one of a trio of gods. Thanks to Zachary W. Collins and Lies of J for being super supporters, and thanks to my other supporters on Patreon and on YouTube as well. If you want to support, check out the description. You know how it goes. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you next time. So if Odin and Zelda are both associated with wisdom, and Gandalf was inspired by Odin, then would Link be Bilbo Baggins? I mean, that's probably wrong, right? It would only make sense if both of them were sent by their respective embodiments of wisdom and then returned with a golden item. Oh my god.